There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Yes, a lovely, great, big, juicy hola, bon dia, alegria to you. How are you this morning? Thank you for those who joined me last night to check in and see how we were all doing in these strange and hot times. On the My Question to You Is This podcast on a Monday evening, where we go off-piste a little bit and away from Portugal and into the world of politics and popular culture. And did a pretty good job. Thank you to everybody who joined us last night. This morning we have for you, as you can see on the ticker tape beneath me there, it's all about wealth and property this morning. But of course, in this first half hour, checking in and seeing again how people are doing in the heat. In the strange times that we live in, let's be honest about that, and just checking in with the community, seeing how everybody's doing. And I can see lots of lovely check-ins and chat already this morning. Alan, Stephen, Nunu, Tony Baldylocks, who and I missed a God Squad tip yesterday. Do forgive me, Coach Turner, in my excitement. It is the danger of squirreling things away for later on in the show. So if you feel like you've been squirreled, anything that's been sent to you, not just Coach Turner, but anybody who's tuned in, and you think, hey, hold on a minute, he didn't show my pictures of Mafra. I will do that, James. And my big picture of a giant redwood tree, the biggest tree in the world, quite extraordinary. Actually, I've got two interesting tree clips for you this morning. The biggest tree, I think, probably ever, the redwood, where James lives. Not really, but kind of. And one being chopped down here in Portugal that was sent to us by Louise for the gardening show. The gardening show was amazing yesterday. And we had Marela and Isabella from The Miracle of Palmela, which sounds like a poem, doesn't it? Or a limerick. If you look at my chair at the moment, that's not heat haze. I suppose it could be. Maybe it is. Maybe I should check. But that's just a little bit of green screen fringing. But it just gives you the impression, doesn't it, of extreme heat, which many people are experiencing in a more extreme way than they've ever done around Europe. I was just listening to some British radio, and they were checking in with the people of Europe. Didn't get to Portugal. They didn't ask me. Not yet, anyway. So Deagle's in also with a remarkable achievement, which I'll share in just a moment. James Slug on a Rug is here. Francis, where you been? Bon dia, alegria a todos. Been way too long. You're absolutely right. Lee's in as well. Lee had a few pithy comments. Lee, I was watching an old bit of footage from British television from the BBC in 1970, and they were talking, it was hilarious. They had someone like Alan Wicker or Melvin Bragg going up to the north and asking them what they thought of Southerners and vice versa. It was hilarious. People eat off pan lids in the north, and drink beer all the time and gossip. And in the south, they actually cook and do not go to the fish and chip shop. It's hilarious. I'll have to send it to you. Lee McGrady from Manchester in England is with us as well this morning. It was an amazing show last night, talking with Marela and Isabella for The Miracle of Palmela. And I think I want to share a photograph of their wonderful food forest as well, which sadly was almost completely destroyed by they showed us beautiful pictures from about a week ago. And then last Wednesday, so what would that have been? Yeah, actually a week ago it was The Miracle of Palmela, all beautiful. And then come Wednesday, thanks to an arsonist who started a fire over that way, not that close to them actually, but it got to them in the end, near enough destroyed their beautiful creation there, but not quite, which is quite a testament to the food forest technology, if I call it that. Pretty excited about this topic this morning. Well, it's one that I find difficult to penetrate. And that's why we have experts on with us. And Paul Correa, always exciting to talk to Paul. And you weren't aware, I don't suppose, Alex, when you were looking at the sleeve notes, that Savika Anna also joins us. I have now confirmed that she will join us in this Tuesday residency which will be we're talking about the third Tuesday of the month. Savvy Cat Anna. Always great value. Just check out her recent webinar appearance from last Thursday. She was quite extraordinary. She always is, and she'll be joining us at 9:30 as well. So wealth and property this morning. Thanks to all those who I've just name checked. We'll come back to your comments in greater detail in a little while. Actually, let's talk to Deagle for a moment. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a sunny Belfast. I've got to say, I'm pretty hot in here this morning. The window is open. There is no breeze. I think that's part of the problem here. The Silver Coast has done pretty well in these last 10 days of heat, approximately speaking. So I'll have a look at the weather around the country. I'm feeling it today. And I think tomorrow for our Silver Coast meetup, we'll go to a restaurant up the road and away from the busyness of town and possibly the searing heat on the deck at Palmyra. I think some people will go to Palmyra as usual, but I've got a lunch invitation for everybody else as well. And lunch isn't on me, by the way. I don't mean to phrase it like that. Good God, no. So we will go to Typico de Serra tomorrow for the meetup, and I'll give more details on that to the group in the group. So let me have a look at the weather then, and we'll come back to Deagle's rather marvellous. Actually, no, we won't, because we put Deagle off long enough. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a sunny Belfast, going for a swim around 10 a.m. Well, that's a good way of keeping cool, isn't it? Coming off the first night shift after 18 nights off. What was that like? Hopefully a refreshing 2-mile swim, and I'll sleep all day. How lovely. We'll think of you snoozing and drooling and snoring while the rest of us are dealing with the heat over here, Deagle. And a question from you. Are we about to see the end of the euro? My reading is it's more unstable than politicians say. My goodness. Well, I hadn't thought of that. But I will come back to that when we have Paul joining us. That's quite a thought, isn't it? And let's celebrate you for a moment, Deagle. You have, if we look at your learning chart here, which one of the platforms is this? Do tell us. This is your 200 days straight of 15 minutes of Portuguese. Possibly the only person in our community who, when we suggested we might do 15 minutes a day, you went ahead and did it. And you have a Best Streak Award. Don't do that at the swimming pool, Deagle. You won't be sleeping for the rest of the afternoon if you do that. Or you might, but it might be in a police cell. Deagle, level 12. He's a level 12 linguistic Jedi. Look at him. It's memorized that he's using. 1,944 words learned, and you've earned yourself well over 1.5 million points there. Are they exchangeable for cash, like Green Shield stamps there, Deagle? So well done to you, mate. Yes, quite right too. And what we need for you then, mate, is a muito bem from. Imagine that you're getting a muito bem from, not from me, but from Philomena. Oh, yeah, I forgot to put that video up from Philomena. I'll do that on the show notes blog tonight. I guess it might be tonight by the time it comes out. More fabulous photographs to share with you then before we have a look at the weather. And we'll go to Mark, who's shared these incredible pictures. They're all jumbled up, the pictures I've been sent this morning. So I believe this is in the Azores, the Azores. That's another one of those American pronunciations. I might have a lexicon, mightn't I? In Portuguese, Azores. In British, the Azores. And in American, the Azores, a bit like Porto. There for you. People taking to the shade there. What's Mark told me here? Okay, let me just find him on WhatsApp. 913-590-303. Yesterday, says Mark, at the lighthouse. And we'll talk to Mark and Mary about their experience of the Azores. That's the lighthouse next to the volcano in Capella, Fayal Island, which erupted in 1958. And displaced a couple of hundred people and destroyed many homes. There you go. So natural phenomenon, something us humans need to be mindful of and live in respect of as well. So that's the lighthouse at Capello on Fayal Island. Also a lovely shot here of the Azores as well. Isn't that beautiful? That volcanic landscape there. Do want to go to the Azores at some point, if you're listening, Tap, and Madeira as well. And this, I thought he'd sent me has he sent me? I thought that was a shell, but it's a shell of course, it's the inside of the lighthouse. I thought it was a shell from the beach in the Azores, and that's the lighthouse steps, isn't it? Or is it? Are they steps, or is that a slope? It's quite extraordinary. What a fantastic photograph from Mark. He's great. He's one of our resident photographers. And as I say, we'll talk to Mark and Mary about their choice of the Azores. That's remarkable. They'll go in the blog as well. Andy liked that. A great way to share notes after the show over there at coffee.com/GMP, KO-FI. Okay, so thank you very much to you, Mark, for those wonderful pictures. And who's this eating? That's the slug. That's the slug working his way through some squid, I think. There's that choco frito or calamari sort of squid you've got there. James, what were you eating there? We're talking about the Pau de Mafra festival that he mentioned yesterday when he was with us. Sunday, 17th of July. Fried squid, beans and rice, and a nice cold imperial. Shareable, you say? Well, thank goodness I checked. And also shareable in the trees. This is a lovely thing. And I was thinking as well, 2.5 years or so, I think, into the Good Morning Portugal show. Yesterday, we showed, didn't we? We're still coming up with remarkable little insights and information about Portuguese culture. You know, the bats flying free in the library at Mafra. And here's another thing we've not talked about. Plane trees. I think that's a plane tree. That one's looking a bit kind of algae, not algaeified, lichenified. But there's the people making their way to the Mafra, Pau de Mafra festival. And these are the plane trees, I believe, aren't they? These incredible plane trees that the Portuguese forefathers, elders of yore, had the thoughtfulness and consideration to plant such that we can walk in the shade of them today. And it makes such a difference to be in the shade of trees compared to a lot of man-made shade, doesn't it? It's quite something to be in the shade of the trees when the weather's as hot as it is. Thank you very much for those two photographs. And look at him, he's really loving his Imperial there, isn't he? Choco and beer there. And look, also that I forgot to share yesterday, this is one of the things that got squirreled. You'd be a happy squirrel, wouldn't you, living in that tree? The largest tree in the world, location, giant forest of the Sequoia National Park, the spiritual home of the banana slug, of course. The General Sherman tree is the world's largest tree, stands at 83 meters tall. I mean, it's miraculous, isn't it? Trees are miracles, well, however big they are. Even the little sapling, which you know might end up as somewhere in between its sapling self and something as magnificent as this. Trees are a miracle. Well, this is a miracle among miracles, isn't it? It's 36 feet in diameter, 11 meters. Sequoia trunks remain wide, high up, 60 feet above the base. The Sherman tree is still 5.3 meters in diameter, and it's estimated to be around 2,300 to 2,700 years old. Isn't it as old as some of the people in this community? It's quite extraordinary. Look at that from Beautiful Craft Facebook page by the look of it. Thank you for sharing that, your spiritual home, Banana Slug. And before we leave you and your footage, let us have a look at some of the dancing and entertainment that went on at the Mafra, the Pau de Mafra Festival. Now, I'm wondering, were they hot dancing in that heat, or do the multi-layers help? Maybe they do. Maybe those lovely skirts, layers of skirting, skirting robes, whatever they might be called. Maybe they offer a little bit of cooling. I somehow doubt it, but I'll have to try it sometime and let you know how that works or not. So going from the sequoia tree to this amazing footage of this is what happens, folks. If you don't cut down and manage your woodland, which I think might imperil others, the council come and do it. This is what Louise sent to us. And in some ways, I'm a little sad for this tree, having said how miraculous trees are and talked about the miracle of Palmella food forest earlier on. This is somewhat sad, but I suppose this is what humans do, isn't it? Did anyone shout timber at that point whilst watching? So there's a pine tree going down, I believe. And that is the local camera clearing the roadside strip to our aldea, the village, after fining the landowner for not clearing it. And I wonder if it's cheaper. That's how sometimes fines can work in Portugal, isn't it? That's how the car importation fine works. It's cheaper for the country to pay the fine than it is to do something about it and lose all that taxation money. Maybe some people wait for the camera to come and do that, and they hedge their bets, and then they have to pay the fine and presumably the cost of work there of chopping down the pine tree. But that's what can happen if you don't take care of the land around your home there. And we'll come back. I've also got something else to share with you before I forget, or it gets buried in the flow of the show. And look, do you remember this little pup here? And the Green Valley, the Valverde project, where they were without a pump, and some people very kindly from this community contributed towards the cost of renewing the pump, because more and more people are taking abandoned animals like this little creature here to the Valverde Algarve Rescue Centre. And we heard from Francois. What is this? We really need water containers, he says in a new message today. If somebody can bring 1 or 2 for free, we can store the water from the bomberos. So they're struggling. They need some of those big IPC waters, kind of juice containers there in a cage, I suspect. And the message I got last week, or the weekend actually, good afternoon, no pump man today. I called them to verify what time they would come, but they can't because no time. They had so many people without water in the areas that they don't have time for it. You can't make this up. Unbelievable. So now we still don't know how to manage it all. We can't even take more animals for now, while we have huge requests out of the areas with fires. We can't take them. So the fires are causing a flow of animals that need homes, and they can't fix their pump, says Francois. We can't even take more animals now. They say, we hope we could find a person who can come and look at our pump, but we can't find any. Excuse me, says Francois. Something not least the pathos of this situation here sticking in my throat this morning. And yeah, so the animals need some help there, Valverde. You were very kind before, but they still can't find somebody who knows how to work on a pump. Do you have a friend who knows how to work on a pump to help them there in the Algarve? I wonder. If someone else is in touch with them, can you put the link in the chat? That would be really helpful if you could help us with that. And yeah, I mentioned the miracle of Palmela, didn't I? This is some of the growth that they managed to achieve. On a lighter note, this is what's possible. When in 4 weeks you can grow like this with their food forest technology. And one of the really amazing things about it, and I'm going to find this photograph in real time now, because although the place was absolutely devastated on the face of it by the recent fire, the arson attack in Stubble, the Arabada National Park, waiting for Facebook to unblock itself now. Oh, this is a really long pause. Oh dear. Oh, no, here we go. We're back again now. Do forgive me for that. Yeah, their place was close to complete devastation. However, and I'm trying to find this picture for you now to show you how the miracle continues over there, because we see from the picture I'm about to show you that the way they've grown meant that the land wasn't just, you know how it is with a eucalyptus forest. It occurred to me yesterday when I was talking about this to Mrs. M. A pine forest, a plantation forest, and they're growing this. In case you don't know, they're growing it for paper, aren't they? For the pulp industry, to make things out of the trees that they grow. A lot of lavatory paper and so on, and paper for your printer. A lot of that gets made, or certainly the pulp comes from the plantations that you're seeing as you drive around Portugal, and that'll be eucalyptus and it'll be pine as well. And if you think about it, with the way they're grown so close to each other, you know, it's intensive agroforestry, isn't it? It's like a tinderbox. They're like great big matchsticks standing up, and when the conditions are right, you end up with like a load of vertical, huge matches that basically just go up in the right conditions. So I have a photograph here to show you if I can eventually download it. Hold on a minute. I'm getting there. Don't worry. I am getting there. Just have a sip of your tea or a munch on your torrada toast or something like that. And I'm determined to bring this photograph to you because it is so extraordinary what's happened there. You'll see from this picture that they have the most incredible and devastated valley now. These are some of the pictures from before of what it was like, okay? So they're growing some lovely food here. They've planted their food forest here. And then the fire came like this. And then their outdoor kitchen ended up like this, and their caravan. That used to be a caravan, folks, right there. And the long shot over their neighbour's land looks like this: a charred, blackened landscape. Now, if I share with you now some of the most recent growing there, this is quite extraordinary, I would say to you. If I can that photograph that I desperately was trying to download for you there has not shown up. Yes, it has. Here it is. I found it now. So there you go. Exhibit A, the post-arson attack devastation. And you can see it's Stubal from the sea beyond there as well. I believe that's the coast over there. Stubal on the other side, and the red and white chimney. I think there's a power station there, isn't there? You can see the chimney. Or I think it's a chimney rather than a lighthouse on the top of the hill. I'm pretty sure it's a chimney. And then look at this. We have what was left later. Look, the blackened landscape, and you can see some trees there have been charred, possibly beyond regrowth. But look, the miracle. This is why they call it a miracle. This is the oasis of green, where the fire didn't reach. Isn't that amazing? Very, very beautiful. And they have some colleagues there, Isabella and Matty, were giving a lecture on food forests or an experiential work day or something like that. And they were planning that long before the fire came. And they did it anyway. I think they put that teepee there so that they could show. They went ahead. The show must go on. The food forest science and art was shared, I think, last weekend. And they could show from their own experience what happens when you grow in this way, and what relief it offers to the standard practice, it would seem, of a blaze coming through and destroying everything. Quite incredible, I would say there. What are you all saying about this in the chat this morning? They're removing eucalyptus trees, says Alan, in California, because they explode due to high oil content during wildfires. Yeah, it's just obvious common sense, isn't it? It's not the most ideal thing to plant if it's not a native species. And then to plant it where they're all so close to each other and can explode in the way you describe it, Alan, is insanity. And there's a lot of that around, I've got to tell you at the moment. Okay, let's have a God Squad tip of the day, shall we? Oh, hold on, we can't just put that straight on the screen. We have got a video to play for you. We'll have another slurp of tea, everybody. Where are you, God Squad jingle? God Squad tip of the day: hydrotherapy can be effective at healing injuries. What? So if you're taking a dip today, swimming, hydrotherapy. Maybe there's more to it than that. You're not going to be belting up and down for 3 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles. I don't know how far you go every day or how far you're going today, Deagle. Excuse me, hydrotherapy, probably a specific movements in the water. And who doesn't like a movement in the water first thing in the morning at the swimming pool? Hydrotherapy can be effective. Don't worry, it's just a lion bar. Hydrotherapy can be effective. Caddyshack, great movie. Hydrotherapy. Let me just do this without interrupting myself. Okay, Carl, you can do this. Go. Hydrotherapy can be effective at healing injuries. So if you're taking a dip today, use the water as your resistance. With water waist high, waste it. Try running through it. Great exercise. There you go. That's a bit of hydrotherapy. Water waist high, run through it, and you've got the resistance of the water. Yay! Thank you very much, Coach Turner, for that one. Very, very good. And bon dia, Gumpers, from Slug on a Rug. Feliz dias a todos. Como vai? Como vai? Pretty good here. Thank you very much, Slug on a Rug. Contigo. Will Rogers quote of the day from you then: there is no trick to being a humorist when you have the whole government working for you. Yeah, absolutely. A rich seam remains a rich seam of comedy, doesn't it? If not, well, I suppose comedy and tragedy nicely mixed up there in a Greek kind of way. Tony Baldylocks is here. Bon dia, Gumpers. Yeah, ancient and modern Greece has it going on, doesn't it? Absent yesterday, a Sandman hit hard around 10 p.m. Couldn't keep my eyes open, Slug on a Rug. Well, you're forgiven. You're forgiven. Great to have you here this morning. Hi, everyone. One more shiny day. Oh, yeah, we're going to look at the weather, won't we? So let's have a look at this shiny day that you speak of. Feeling pretty moist, I've got to say, over here on the Silver Coast this morning. How is it where you are? The Expats Portugal weather. Let's take a look at that now and bring it onto your screen, shall we? You asked for it. Here it is. It's going onto the screen now. Let's have a look. We don't have a lot of Fahrenheit coverage, I've got to say, but I'll do my best for you as soon as it arrives on the screen. I thought I'd been through this bit. I thought I loaded it up ages ago, but maybe the internet's a bit slow because of the hot weather this morning. Is there any weather there, or is it just wheels turning, just like the inside of my head? Oh no, here we go. That's not like the inside of my head. 60, maybe I don't know. Maybe it is 79. Then a bit cooler in capital today, but it's going to be 86 tomorrow. And some of these most feared of temperatures we're not experiencing in the capital. 26 the high today, then in Lisbon with a 20-degree low, 68 low, 79 Fahrenheit, whichever way you want to look at that. Porto, 22 degrees the high today, a bit of rain. And 19 degrees starting point there with scattered clouds. Scattered clouds too in Coimbra, rising to 29 today from a 21 star. And 34 tomorrow, so warmer tomorrow, perhaps the peak of the week tomorrow. And a warm weekend, I see, 35 degrees in Coimbra. It's going to be hot in other parts then, isn't it? Faro, 29, starting at 22, and a clear sky and some sun down there, as you might expect. Aveiro then, 23 the high today. Beja, 33. There you go. So 33 in Beja today. Be careful there. Castelo Branco, 32. Évora, 33. Leiria, 25 the high today, a bit cloudy. Santarém, 30. Viseu, 28. Bragança, 29. Guarda, 27. Porto Alegre, 32. And 37 tomorrow in Porto Alegre. Setúbal, 29 the high today. 33 tomorrow, hot one in Setúbal tomorrow. Viana do Castelo, 22 with a bit of rain, starting out at 19 scattered clouds. And Villarreal, 27 degrees. And 16 was the start there, 16 centigrade with overcast clouds. And the Azores, where we were with at least pictorially earlier this morning, 21 degrees starting point, broken clouds rising to 23. Madeira, very mild, 9-degree start. The coldest of the Portuguese weather in Madeira with a 17-degree high, but a beautiful sunny week for the rest of the week, and a high of 22 or 23. Going into next week, it's going to be a bit warmer over there in Madeira. There's your Expats Portugal weather. Let's go back to some of your comments before we're joined by Paul Correa this morning from Fiduciary Wealth Management, talking about some of those rather surprising taxes in Portugal that you might not have bargained for. And looking forward to talking to him. And yes, going back to that comment about the euro being under pressure and the other financial movements around the world, and to make a sense of the picture going forward. Not a phrase I like to use, but it works in this context, doesn't it? Going forward, the future, how's it going to look? Especially when it comes to a fiduciary and financial point of view. Bon dia from Stephen. Morning, Stephen. How are you? And a bon dia, Alegria. Look at this. We've got Francis back. Bon dia todos. I've been way too long. Missed you guys. Thought I'd stop by and say hi after a much-needed vacation. Oh, well done, mate. Hope you're all strong and smiling this morning. We are, and we hope you are too. Great to have you here. Brian as well. Bon dia, Gumpers, from Brian Taylor in the UK. Good morning, people from Lee. Hola, Alan Donovan. A bit of Spanish here, I think. No conozco, pero todos dicen que es precioso. Is that a bit of Spanish there, I wonder? Because we got Alan over there in Spain. Lee has a message from Pete, Solar Life Portugal. Blooming heck. Last night, smoking in a tent with a 12-volt battery left out to cook, a one-man fire hazard. Oh, you're talking about Will from last night, aren't you? Yes, he does live life on the edge, that's for sure. Sorry I missed the question thing last night. No worries, Stephen. We'll get you next time. Well, honestly, it was one of the most dangerous, selfish things that I've ever seen. Well, Pete, come on, you've lived a bit more dangerously than that. I think you've got a bit of a beef with old Will there, haven't you? But yeah, I take your point with that. Pretty excited about this topic. And that, of course, that topic is Paul from Fiduciary Wealth Management and some of those surprising taxes. We'll go to Paul in just a moment. I think he's doing a few behind the scenes checks there. Got a bit of a tech setup going. Oh, and a new microphone, very possibly. That sounds like fun. Maybe you could wave at me, Paul, when you're all set up and give us a thumbs up. He's limbering up and ready to join us there. Michelle in Australia, bon dia, Carlos, and everyone. Great to have you here with us, Michelle. How are you? How's the Australian weather at the moment? Guru Slug is her greeting to you, Slug on a rug this morning. And yeah, shout out to Deagle then for 200 days straight of 15 minutes of Portuguese. It's quite an achievement. I'm right there with you. We can do it. So that was unfair of me to suggest that some people, or the only person to do 15 minutes a day was Deagle. Looks like James has been doing that too. Well done, James. I am planning to check out Portugal in October, looking at a few properties. So there you go. It was Alex, wasn't it, Rappaport, who was interested in the subject today. And let's bring Paul onto the screen now and say good morning and hello to him in Gibraltar, I suspect, this morning. How are you, Paul?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Oh, Paul, you are spoiling us, Mr. Ambassador. I'm hearing you so well this morning.
Uh,
Hey,
I'm glad to hear. I was a bit apprehensive.
me
I thought
too.
I thought there was going to be some issue, some technical issues.
We
As
sometimes.
yeah, and the problem is I have Daphne here helping me because, as you know, I'm not proficient at anything tech.
Good morning, Daphne. Thank you so much. All of us here are very grateful to you. Please have a cream cake with your coffee that you might be going off to have now. How are you, Paul? What's going on? I mean, interesting times for a man working in the wealth industry.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, yeah, it's very volatile as well. Yeah.
Yes. What's going on?
Everything is going on, markets are still under a lot of pressure. Federal Reserve, well, we had US inflation coming in at 9.1, so
Yeah.
it's moving higher. The Federal Reserve, I think, is meeting next week, and we expect another massive rate hike. Central Bank has already indicated that they're going to follow suit with some strong rate increases, but it won't be long before they have to capitulate and stop increasing rates because fiat currencies are extremely vulnerable. Global economy is very vulnerable.
Yes.
Raising rates might tip us into a recession, but we still have supply chain disruptions, and there's nothing you can do to prevent runaway inflation when most of it is not entirely, but part of it is driven due to supply issues. You can
Yes.
control demand, you cannot control supply. For instance, if you stop the supply of oil and gas from Russia, you had to look at alternative sources. You can't raise rates to try and dampen demand. That's a supply demand imbalance.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we're living through very difficult times, and um, yeah, I think central banks have a conundrum. I keep repeating it. Do we tackle inflation or do we um, ensure that the economy doesn't capitulate and doesn't enter into a deep recession? I think all the you've got leading indicators, you've got lagging indicators, which is like looking at the rear mirror because they just reflect past events, but the leading indicators all point down to a squeeze of profit margins for the big corporations and the economy not just slowing down but going into recession. And we normally look at the US yield curve, and when it becomes inverted, when short-term interest rates are higher than long-term interest rates, I think, and the bond market is very pure in that sense. It looks at economic data, it looks at interest rates, and it says, okay, where is the economy heading? And everything is pointing to a major slowdown. Whether it's going to be a shallow recession or a deep recession depends on our friends at the Federal Reserve and how they manage Fed policy. Right now, they've been an absolute disaster.
Well, okay. You use the term friends quite loosely, I suspect. There are friends at the Federal Reserve.
Extremely
Who are these
extreme.
people, Paul? Can you give
Yeah,
us a bit of background? Who are these people? They're not friends, really, are they? They're quite distant and powerful people. How does
no,
it work?
the problem you have at the Fed is that the 600 Harvard and Stanford University graduates in economics, but they've never really worked in a commercial environment, so they don't understand the implications of increasing rates
Right.
and how higher interest rates influence large corporations and the decisions they make. They
Well, how
make
do they get
decisions.
the job? How do people like this get the job? What is this just something inherited? What's going on?
Well, it's almost like access to the House of Lords, right? It's almost like a live peerage. But no, they attend to the right schools, yeah,
Yes,
and they've got degrees. They're highly intelligent, but they
yes,
have no commercial experience.
yes,
So all they can do is draw on their theoretical experience. But
yes,
you have to work in the business end of things to understand, how you know higher costs, higher taxation, higher interest rates, how that influences the capital expenditure of large corporations, public limited companies,
yes.
even medium and smaller sized entities. How do these things influence decision making? And if they haven't had the experience of working in business, they can only draw on their textbook stuff, right?
Yes, indeed. And this is
And
why we have a bit of beef sometimes from Catherine, isn't it? Who's one of your fiercest critics on here. We
absolutely.
have a bit of argy-bargy sometimes, don't we? And I think Kate comes from the, she's quite, as you describe it, a very intelligent, articulate person, and from that academic place, I would say. I don't want to cast nasturtiums on her business prowess. I don't really know a lot about that, but it would appear to be a little a microcosm of the macrocosm. You and her, the hard end of it of dealing with the reality of making financial decisions, and the academic overview of that. When will we get those two mindsets working together? Have they ever worked together, or are they always in
No,
conflict?
no, potentially there could be areas of crossover. But look, I'll give you an example. There's
Yes.
something called Kitco News, and there was this intelligent guy I know who worked with Kissinger, and he was dropping names, and he's been in the market for 40 years, and he said that the solution for inflation was to let interest rates find its normal level. It's
Right.
ridiculous. I mean, who on earth would say something as stupid as that? To find the normal level. Of
Yes.
course, that's what should happen. But
Yes.
the global economy is so indebted, has so much debt. Can you imagine letting rates settle at 20% to combat inflation? You know,
Probably not. That would be disastrous, wouldn't it?
it'd
As
be
we're seeing that
disastrous,
period.
and you don't even have to be a financial guru to suss that one out. It's just
Even I
common
can see
sense.
that. Yes, indeed.
No, but
Even
it's
I can
just common sense. He said, just let interest rates find its natural level with this rate of inflation.
Yes.
Really, really?
And
I,
what
I,
school of
uh,
economics is that?
I don't
The
know.
All right,
I'm not gonna
yeah, mind your language. Okay.
exactly. Don't tempt me.
Yes. Okay. So, what on the one hand, we've got suggestions like this. We need a one world currency with no strings attached, redistributed with a maximum of 4 times difference between the lowest and highest wages, and freedom to grow hemp. Sorted. Good luck with that. Whilst there are people arguing about worldwide solutions for this, it comes down to the nitty gritty at these times, I think, of people perhaps needing to, as well as philosophizing down the pub about what should be done and what politicians should do, you've got to take some care of yourself, I think, in these times. And the advice, the mantra that I've been spouting about fire safety recently: be alert, be prepared, and stay safe. Do you think that's useful advice when it comes to managing your money as well?
Absolutely. Be
Yeah.
be very savvy. Be
Yeah.
very nimble. Be very alert as in terms of the economic indicators that are coming through, and be prepared to pivot.
Yes.
And unfortunately, cash is losing, and fiat currencies are losing their value very rapidly. But play safe right now. And one of the things that people don't understand, one of the things why in precious metals, industrial metals have been hard hit, is because the US dollar has increased in value significantly, about 9% in the last few weeks. And the reason the dollar has increased by 9% is because US interest rates are rising at a faster rate than in Europe and in other major blocks.
Yeah.
And Europe is a major, for the dollar index, is a major benchmark, right?
Yeah.
But now the central bank, the European Central Bank is now, Lagarde is now saying we're going to raise rates as well, and very aggressively. The dollar is extremely overvalued. It's only been sustained by those higher rates relative to other markets. But it won't be long before it capitulates. And with a capitulation, we should see, precious and industrial metals regaining value again.
Okay.
So, but you're right. Be prepared. Be alert. Be nimble. Be smart. Cash is having a bit of cash is king. Wait for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Don't be impatient. Play the long game. Don't
Yes.
play the short game. You know, have the strength of character to endure the volatility.
Yeah.
It's not a short game. It's a long game. Stay. Calm.
Okay, and as you can, well, the comment that we had earlier on the screen from Alex Rappaport was pretty excited about this topic. There's a few things we want to talk about this morning. Some of these surprising taxes that people encounter, and this comes back to being alert and knowing what the landscape is, the fiduciary landscape, I could call it, here in Portugal. And there are a couple of taxes that people might not be familiar with that get slapped on financial activities here that we might talk about. You are planning a roadshow. Coming to Portugal. I think you're going to join us for one of our meetups, which is great news, and people can have one-to-ones with you, which I think some people will be glad to hear about. They might. It's a bit like your sex life, isn't it? Your money life. You might want to not want to talk about it publicly. So people might prefer to. I don't know if that's your experience, Paul, but people might prefer to talk about it one-to-one, not their sex lives. He's not a sex therapist. He's a financial guy.
Exactly.
So yes.
I have my limitations.
Yes, it's hard to believe, but yes, it might be best not to go into that sort of territory at the meetup. But you can have a one-to-one with Paul when he comes to Portugal as well. So get your questions in this morning about anything to do with wealth management. We've got Paul with us for another 10 or 20 minutes or so. Get those questions. Sorry, and do tell us about this, your trip to Portugal then. Have you got your Speedos ready?
I've got my Speedos, I've got my Santan lotion, I've got my towel. So no, it's a whistle-stop tour.
Yeah.
So we're setting off very early on Monday, the 19th of September.
Yeah.
And then we are heading to the Algarve, and then all the way up to your neck of the woods. Great. So we have the whole week there. We have an open agenda. We want to speak to people and understand their problems and the pain points and what the issues are, and to try see how we can help them.
Yeah,
basically that's what we do in essence. We're all ears. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we want to listen first, understand what the issues are, what the obstacles are, and how we can add value.
Brilliant.
So yeah, open agenda, but it can get filled up fairly quickly. So what I would say is, if you provide my details and someone wants to engage, then we start filling the diary already, because July and August are summer months, and it's the silly season for everyone, and September comes very quickly.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Absolutely right. Yeah, we will be saying that, won't we? Where did that go? It's suddenly it's September, and the heat and the holidays are behind us, and it feels like we're back in business come September. Certainly here in San Martino de Porto, we'll get our town back. From the hordes, the holidaying hordes are having a fantastic time here at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you in the flesh there.
Same.
Paul, it'd be great fun to hang out, and other people can do the same. If you don't feel comfortable asking questions publicly like this, as a giveaway to your billionaire status, perhaps, you can book an appointment and have a one-to-one with Paul in the sunshine of the Silver Coast or in the Algarve. How good is that? Sorry, Paul, go on.
Paul and Matt. So my co-director, Matt Penfold, is coming along as well.
Oh, excellent.
So there's 2 of us. So, we could be having, more than one meeting at the same time, because, we can spread ourselves out. But we'll go as far and deep into Portugal as is required.
Okay.
So I think your meet is where? Just off
We're
Lisbon.
at the Silver Coast. We are an hour north of Lisbon for people who want to come and join us for that. And that can be part of a day out, of course. Come to the Silver Coast and
Absolutely.
have a little mosey about the Silver Coast and meet up with Paul, do a bit of business as well. Is there any charge for that, or is this a no obligation free first meeting?
No, it's no obligation. But I just want to ask a question. Do you have those tarts that you have in Portugal?
Also, I do.
Cream
I will
tart.
have tarts aplenty for you. Don't worry about that, Paul. When you arrive here with your towel around your neck,
How
I'll
do
have
you call them?
pastel de
Those.
nata. Pastel de nata.
That's it. Those
Yes.
ones.
Okay. And Victoria, you've got another. You've got more tarts waiting for you. No, that's not what I mean, Victoria. You. Oh dear, you've got pastel de natas waiting for you in Portimao as well. Look at that. Paul, come to Portimao to the meetup. And generally speaking, that's the second Thursday. But they might do a special for you, Paul, if that's how it needs to work out. I would love to have you down there.
Well, the thing is that in answer to Victoria, would love to meet up, but
Yes.
the problem is the second week is problematic because Matt is traveling.
Okay. But you can figure something out, even if you can't go specifically to the meetup. There's other ways.
Exactly, Victoria. I'm happy to have a meeting in Portimao, even if
Yes.
it's a smaller group. You
Bring
know,
tarts.
bring tarts and
Yes.
nice, and a
And
nice coffee
Portuguese
and
food.
tea and
Absolutely.
Portuguese
Right.
food.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of our first questions then, Paul. This is quite an easy one for us today, isn't it? Is
No,
it Tuesday?
it is September, Monday, September the 19th, and it's the whole week. So we start in the Algarve. And we work our way up. When do we meet you? What day is
That will be on the Wednesday. That will be on the
on the
Wednesday.
Wednesday? So
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
21st.
So
Okay. So I
probably
think
yeah.
Maxine is asking if it's July the 19th today. We can confirm, to the best of our knowledge, that it is Tuesday, July the 19th today. We like to be of service. Bring tarts and pastries as well for the meetup. And we always have there's another offer for you. We always have a Tuesday night at the Moonlight. It's getting better and better, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, Tuesday night. What day is that, Victoria?
That'll be your 22nd, won't? Sorry, your 20th. Your 20th.
Is
There.
that 20th of September?
Yes, I believe so. I
If
believe so.
Victoria can confirm that, and maybe she can give me her email, I'm happy to reach out and we can meet at the Moonlight. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Maybe we can meet at the Moonlight. Look at that. Fantastic. The plan is coming together. We're like the A team here,
Wow.
the fiduciary A team here, Paul. Tell us about, if you will, about these surprising taxes. Talking of being alert, I'm one of those people that tends to stick his head in the sand with fiduciary matters. I'm not alone in that. I know you meet people like this all the time, I suspect, but they are forced to pull their head out of the sand from time to time. And there's something they should be aware of with these somewhat punishing Portuguese taxes sometimes, right? The wealth tax, and they've got some funny names too. What are they?
Well, there's all kinds of taxes in Portugal, but I have to tell you, the tax regime in Portugal is more benign than in other countries. Certainly, much better than the one in Spain.
Yes, okay.
But you're right. I think what you're finding across the EU, across the world, is that because they don't want to publicly, for political reasons, increase their headline tax rates, there's all kinds of stealth taxes, being implemented.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that go under the radar, that whilst you're having your cream tart and your coffee, you don't realize that that they're squeezing you somewhere else.
Yes.
But funnily enough, in Gibraltar, it used to be a thriving economy prior to the pandemic. Then they've run into all kinds of issues, and they announced the budget 2 weeks ago, and they've for 2 years they've implemented a tax for companies. It's of €1,300 a year, and they've raised the corporate tax rate. They've raised personal taxation. So it's not just the stealth taxes. They'll tax you anywhere which way they can.
Till you squeak.
Until you squeak. And then the other squeeze, Carl, that people don't realize is inflation.
Yeah.
And I'll give you one example, because I've been off last week, and it's shocking. I go to the supermarket and the prices have gone through the roof. But I'll give you an example. Let's say that you buy a basket of goods in let's say Victoria buys a basket of goods in Portimao, in one of your supermarkets there, and that basket prior to inflation cost €100, and now the same basket of goods costs you €120, right? Let's say that in 2022, by the end of 2022, inflation were to drop. Not that I think it's going to happen. And it drops by 2%. It drops from 9 or 10 to 2. That same basket of goods, right, has gone up from 100 euros to 120. Inflation comes down, and you go, "Wow, we go back
Yay!
to
Yes,
we go back to 100." No, no, we don't go back to 100. Now you've got 2% of 120,
yes, that's right.
which is 2 euros 40 more. So now it costs you 122.40 cents euros a basket of goods.
Yeah,
What I'm trying to tell you is it's compounded. It
yes,
doesn't go back to what it was
not in a good
before.
way. Yes,
No,
compound interest can be a beautiful thing, but not when it's working against you like that, right?
exactly. And people think, inflation has come down. We go back to no, no, it's not deflation. Inflation might go back to 2 in due course, not for the foreseeable future, in due course. So it's compounding very quickly. And the fact it's compounding very quickly, there's two things that are happening. You have less disposable income because your income is losing its purchasing power
Yep.
very, very quickly. The fiat currencies and your investments are saving are being devalued very, very quickly as well. So
Yes.
when these people play the game of inflation, we're paying a very hefty price for that, and that's
Yeah.
what we don't realize. We're being squeezed, and then of course we have to pay back those debts, so we get squeezed again through taxation. So I
Yes.
think those on lower incomes and before you know it, you have social unrest because
Yes,
you've got,
indeed.
I was in the UK 3 weeks ago and there was a major train strike. As you know, all the unions are protesting
Absolutely. Yeah.
and it's going to happen everywhere
Yep.
because I don't think the penny drops. How much we're being squeezed, how disposable income is losing its purchasing power. I
Well,
think
it's
it's
the
a
sort of
very
thing you kind of wake up to that fact, don't you? You don't.
yeah.
It's a bit like I think somebody, yeah, James was saying yesterday. You don't see your children grow in front of your eyes. You look at a photo, go, "Wow, my goodness!" Or a grandparent sees them occasionally. If your grandparents live a long way away, they see, "Why haven't you grown?" And it's the same with taxation and inflation. It's like, my God, this thing last year was only this much. Now it's this much, and then that's when people are starting to get unrestful. I guess as you put it there, when it suddenly
Look,
dawns on them the actual situation that we're dealing with.
and look, it's such a. I don't think we've been in this economic environment for more than 100 years, and
Yes,
I think the reality is that there's very little option if they are to deal with inflation. It would plunge the global economy into a deep recession at the worst possible time,
yes,
and if they want to pivot and start pumping more money, it involves more debt, and the problem gets worse.
yes,
So and at some point, they have to reset the global economy because fiat currencies. If you look at fiat currencies over time, you know, before the dollar has been 100 years supreme since 1920,
yeah,
when the British Empire and the pound lost its, you know, reserve currency status. Before then, it was, what, the Spanish peseta, the Dutch guilder, the Portuguese escudo at one time, going
yes,
to the 1700, reigned supreme. Every currency has had its 100 years of supremacy.
yeah, indeed.
And the US dollar is now ending its 100 years. And they'll have
Very
to find
interesting.
and they'll have to find an alternative. And the alternative might be to go back pre-Bretton Woods 1971, where for every pound of debt there was 1 ounce of gold or the equivalent in gold as a reserve.
Sure, sure, yeah,
Once we did away with having gold as a reserve for every pound of or dollar of debt or euro of debt, then we got into trouble, yeah, because there's nothing to back the borrowing.
understood, understood. And here we find ourselves in the aftermath of that. Where did all
Yeah.
that gold go, by the way, Paul? Or is that a question for another time? That was once held in reserve. Where's it all gone now?
I don't know. They sell the gold, and I guess into jewelry and
Under
other
people's beds.
and
Yeah,
other
okay.
uses, but there's a lot of people, wise people, holding large positions of physical gold,
Yes,
in storage and
yeah,
silver,
yep,
because right now they're under pressure, but there has to be a reset of some kind.
Okay, very very interesting what you're saying, and I noticed the languaging for you and others in this sphere area sector is we're not talking about if there's going to be a recession or not, are we anymore? We're talking about how severe it's going to be. Is that right?
So how severe is going to be? And in this chair just beside me, we invited a client. He's been the only client who actually was spot on. He said, everything you warned about 2 years ago is happening now. And I said, yeah, we got that timing completely wrong.
Yeah.
Hands up. We
Yes.
expected it to collapse then. It
Yes.
didn't collapse because of the amount of stimulation,
Yes.
of money that was pumped into the economy. We didn't expect that level of support
Yeah.
and the speed of response. So we got it completely wrong. Our investment hands. But our prediction, the fact that the economy is unsustainable and is heading for recession, as soon as they've stopped the levers of quantitative easing and suppressing interest rates at zero, we see how vulnerable the global economy is.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now I put in some of the bullet points from your website that people should be aware of, which has caused Moaz to want to stay in Dubai. You don't need to be like that, Moaz, about this. 48% income tax, that's high. I'll just stay in Dubai. The point Paul was making there is that wherever you are in the world, stealth tax is in operation. So there's the front of house, isn't there? Come to Portugal, for example, NHR. Different tax status, but wherever you go in the world now, governments have got to pay their bills, and they're going to find a way of getting to you, I suspect, and your wealth. And this is all about management, isn't it? And all about understanding, and that's exactly where you come in, Paul. Right? To have come up with solutions, right?
I think it's a brilliant point. I think it's such a good point you raise. I think there's common reporting standards where you can't be a tax nomad. You have to be tax resident somewhere, and you can't pretend to be, for instance, in Dubai, but really be someone else somewhere else and trigger your residency somewhere else, but you pay zero tax in Dubai. So those are the things that one needs to be aware of. You have to establish a tax residency, play by the rules. You see my table here. You have to be on the edges, maximize all the tax benefits without being outside off the edge. Exactly.
Yes.
And can I just draw an analogy? The world is our world in this example that we're giving is flat. Columbus might have been right that the world is round, but for the purposes of this example, that the world is flat. So we need to be on the edge and maximize every single opportunity. Because it's your future. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Before you go,
and your children's legacy as well.
Absolutely, well said. Make an appointment with Paul, paul.correa@fwm.g. Have I spelt that right there with your Correa? Forgive me.
It's perfectly right. As I've said 2 hours. I've said before, my real surname from my ancestors that moved from Tavira in Portugal is Correa.
Correa, see, with the rolling
Correa, but of course the British registrar when they arrived in Gibraltar decided to knock the I off.
Okay. When you moved there, was it a Correa move? Anyway, you can ignore that.
It was a Correa move.
Okay, we've got a couple of merchandise ideas for you. I mean, I think the flat Earth one works pretty well.
You like that one, yeah?
Fiduciary flat Earth. I'm loving that. You could also get some T-shirts with like "Don't be a boiled frog," because Slug on a Rug is comparing this situation of like waking up to the nightmare that if you're not alert, you might wake up in a cold sweat at some point. Although that's a rather mixed metaphor now, a cold sweat in a boiling pan. But you get the gist of this. Don't be a boiled frog. Talk to Paul, and you can even get T-shirts like this. I like Paul. There you go. That's a very straightforward bit of merchandising, isn't it? To get on a mug or on a T-shirt, something like that. I like Paul. FWM.
Yeah. Can I just use a play of words? Don't be a mug. Yeah.
Don't be a mug. We are our very own marketing team this morning. This is good work. 3 P's of the pod. I like Paul too. He always gives us good financial advice. It's not actually advice, really, is it? I don't know. Not in this context.
Well, it's generic exchange of frank views. Yeah.
I like that. A generic exchange of frank views.
But I'm happy to give one-to-one advice when we meet.
Indeed.
in
Okay.
Portugal. That's fine. That's not a problem.
Information purposes only. And as Paul says there, you can meet him in Portugal in September, which is fantastic news. I'm so looking forward to meeting with you and having more conversations of this kind, Paul. Thank you for being with us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, plenty of cream tarts, please.
Don't worry, that is etched in my mind to be ready for you. It's somewhat sweaty in a box of tarts in the baking Portuguese sun. They will be there ready and waiting for you, my friend.
Fantastic.
Have a great day at Gibraltar.
Thank you, Carl. Same to you and
All
to
right.
everyone else. Have
Okay,
a
ciao, ciao.
fantastic day.
You
God
too, mate.
bless.
Ciao,
Take
ciao,
care.
ciao, ciao. There you go. There's some good hands for your wealth management to be in there. A personal opinion, of course, from me, Carl Munson, on the Good Morning Portugal show from expatsportugal.com. And as if that wasn't fabulous enough, more fabulousness for you. Savvy Cat Anna's here as well. Good morning to you. How are you?
Hello, good morning. It's actually a pretty great day today, which isn't a bad thing because I'm tired of melting. I'm good now.
Tired of melting. And where are you in this wonderful country of ours?
I'm in Formula, so I'm at my father's village near Aveiro.
Oh, Aveiro. So you've got a bit of sea breeze coming in across the salt plains there, I believe.
This part isn't too close to the coast. It's close to the reserve area, Baixo do Galagunar, where you have the kind of swamp plains.
Oh yeah, but it's really special up there. Is that the island tip that you can drive up to, and then you've got to drive all the way back down and round to get to Aveiro? Is it that part of Aveiro?
Well, Aveiro is kind of flat, so I'm not sure where you drive up to.
Oh, sorry, along to then. So yeah, that's a bit misleading. I remember staying somewhere on the other side. I could see Aveiro, and I was thinking when I booked it on the Airbnb, I thought to myself, okay, I've got some business to do in Aveiro. And as the crow flies, I'm just across the water from Aveiro. It can't take that long to get to the town, but I had to drive all the way back along the.
No, I'm not on that side. That side is inside the reserve area. So
Yes.
This village is on the way to. If you go by National Road to Porto side, it's like 15 minutes away from Aveiro.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to call it Aveiro for the purposes of what's going on the
Yeah,
screen.
probably better. Most
Yes.
people, even Portuguese people, they don't even know how to spell Formula. So
Okay, but I think I've got that right now. So Savvy Cat Anna Canamujo is with us. We had a fantastic conversation last week, didn't we? And the webinar is up there for people to see. So I thought maybe this morning we could talk more about the culture and you and the person behind this incredible business that you've created. I did want to, if you're happy to talk about it.
it's actually a good timing, I guess, because a big reason that I started this business was actually this particular property where I am right now.
Yeah. What an inspiration for you.
Because of my father, that's actually funnily. That is a painting that a cousin did of him. So that's why.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Hello, Dad. Excellent.
So, yeah, one of the, as you know, my family does have a pretty big background on real estate, but although I did feel drawn to it and I had a lot of knowledge in the area and I feel like, I should be using it. Yeah. I'd never really started working professionally in real estate up until this point because I really don't like the way the market operates.
Uh-huh.
And only after my father passed away, I got this sense of urgency, like, time runs out. And one of my biggest goals and one of the reasons I've become an entrepreneur was because of my father. My father, I went to university in graphic and multimedia design, so nothing to do in anything. And straight out of university, I actually wanted to take a fashion design course in Japan. And he just dropped a project on me because we have this really big farm estate that has been in the family from generation and it's very dear to him. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of deteriorating a lot. And he just dropped this on me and said, look, you have to do something about this. And I wasn't very happy at the time because, that's not exactly what I wanted to do, was it?
He's smart. That was a very smart move on his behalf, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I kind of, at the time, I was like, what do I do with this? And so I started taking a bunch of entrepreneurship courses. And I did one in the Coimbra University. Then I went and did a mentorship program in the Business Association of the Center. Then I did another program that was called the Startup Pirates. Then actually, it was my favorite one. It was a very practical one, the Startup Pirates.
Seriously,
And
it's called the Startup Pirates.
I also did a kind of a public program, but that was related to entrepreneurship. That was like a scholarship thing, but I don't really remember the name of it. But basically, I got myself informed, and yeah, it was the Startup Pirates, were really cool. And I got myself inside the entrepreneurship community, and turns out I really started liking it. The whole thing of creating something and seeing it develop and so on. And so I was actually involved in developing this project for about 5 years, from starting to get myself comfortable and educated on the process, to then finding the architects, the engineers, going through the town hall process. We also applied for public funding. And well, I kind of did it all on my own, with my father just on the backing up and financing the situation. So we developed the whole project, and it actually had a great grade. It was, when we applied for public funded, it was rated 4.3 out of 5, which is a really, really high grade. And we didn't get the funding because of one of those technical bureaucracies that drive you crazy. That is, for some reason, the payback time for regular hotel projects. This was a rural charm hotel project focused on bird watching. And for some reason, the regular hotel projects, the payback period was 10 years, but for no reason at all, for rural hotel projects, it was 8 years. And no one noticed. So we did the whole plan around 10 years payback time, and we couldn't make it viable in 8. So yeah.
Wow. And that spoiled the plan, did it?
Well, yeah, at the time it was a 1.5 million project. Wow. Right now, with the inflation and everything, I'm counting at least 2 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just say I got really frustrated at the time, and I kind of just dropped the towel, and I went to work in tourism in the Algarve.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a turnaround. But there's quite a lot of information there. I'm thinking about these entrepreneur pirates that you...
Yeah, startup pirates. I think they're no longer a thing, but it was a really, really interesting course, because like I said, I did a number of courses. And the ones that I did through the universities, they were very theoretical.
Yeah.
But this one, the Startup Pirates, was a very, very practical one. And it actually got entrepreneurs from Portugal to talk about their experience and give you feedback on your project. The project evolved a lot on those 2 weeks. And it was also really interesting because they didn't just take people that were successful. They also took people that didn't manage to go there, make their project move forward, so they could tell you about their experience. Because that's one of the issues here in Portugal. Here in Portugal, you have this mentality where if you are not able to get things done at first attempt, then you are a failure.
Yes.
Failure is
the world over, though, isn't it?
Yeah, entrepreneur.
That's how children are brought up, though, in school, though, isn't it? If you don't succeed at first, you're a failure, and then they get sorted into these categories. But thankfully, startup culture is changing that, right?
Yes. Well, that has to change in order for you to be inside a startup and to be an entrepreneur, because I believe one of the most important characteristics of being an entrepreneur is to be able to deal with failure and to deal with things not going as planned, because that happens a lot.
Yes, and especially so at the moment. Absolutely right. I was wondering, though, did you have a catchphrase? Were you the entrepreneurs? when you were the startup pirates?
I actually don't remember, but no, I don't think so. No.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't do that. It was just something that occurred to me. So this is amazing, Anna. I love what your dad did there, because I don't think he liked the idea of you going to Japan. So he gave you a
No,
project,
probably not.
to do in Portugal instead, which has then led you this full circle now back to Savicat and tackling the problems of the real estate industry, realty in here in Portugal. And you're doing an amazing job of that. So how in practice has that been as a startup? As a young person, you're at the kind of younger end of the business world in Portugal for sure, aren't you? How would you describe it? Would you recommend other people to start a business instead of getting a job when they leave school or university or in their 20s or 30s in Portugal?
Well, I would say that it's a very good thing to do. However, it's not something that just about anyone can do it. But, there is a very high risk of failure,
Mm,
and there is a very high risk of burning a lot of money. And if you
yes.
don't have a safety net behind you, it can be ground. It can lead to the person becoming in a very bad position.
Yes.
So I do think that entrepreneurship is a great thing, and you can learn a lot from it. And it would be great if everyone could go through it. But realistically speaking, it's a big risk, and not everyone is able to take that risk. Like, I was able to take that risk because I had my father financing me on the back. And in truth, for you to have an idea to develop this hotel project, we probably spent about 60 to 80K.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And that's the reality, isn't it, of starting businesses? Because I think with entrepreneurship, it perhaps shouldn't only be one idea. It should be a range of ideas and projects. And eventually, we hope one of them gets away. But that doesn't come without sometimes losing some money, in the way that you've just described.
Yes and no, because as an entrepreneur, I think most entrepreneurs always have a bunch of projects, and
Yeah.
that's the case for me too.
Yes.
But I've been when I started Savicat and it started building, I still wanted to take care of the car business, and I was still thinking how I was going to push forward the hotel business. And eventually I figured out I cannot multiply myself, and I kind of needed to focus on just one thing. And
Yes.
that's what I started doing. Of course, it's important to do that on the businesses that are working, and not throw yourself deeper into a hole, into something that is not working.
Yeah.
And sometimes not working is not about being a good project. It's often just about people not adapting right, because that's a big thing on entrepreneurship. It's adaptability.
Yes, well said. And what I think people are understanding more and more in the world of entrepreneurship is that actually you're working on yourself as much as you're working on a business.
Yeah.
You're working on yourself as well. And I think the Portuguese teachers in this regard, in the startup culture that I've been involved in, actually in Aveiro, there's a wonderful incubator at Ilhavo at the university, and there are
Mhm.
many in Lisbon, aren't there? Startup culture in Lisbon is amazing, and there's a huge focus on working on yourself as much as working on your business. Do you think that's the right approach?
It is, because when you are running a business, everything kind of falls on you. And when it starts growing and you start having a team, you have to be the right person to manage it, and you have to work on yourself in order to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. Mentioned the hotel business, which sounds wonderful. I hope that does see the light of day in somewhere at some point. The Drakkar business, what's that?
It's the Viking Tavern.
Okay, because that's what I wanted to talk to you about as well this morning. I wanted to find out we're finding out more about the person behind Savicat. Anna Caramujo live here. Happy to answer questions. I'm sure you are on any aspect of real estate buying and renting in Portugal. We did a fine job on last Thursday evening, but finding out more about you as a person this morning. This Viking bar restaurant, what could you tell us more about it? There might be, are you looking for funding? I mean, there might be people in this audience who think, yes, I want a Viking cafe bar, and I want it so much I'm willing to invest. Tell us about the idea. Let's do a bit of a Dragon's Den here thing with this, Anna.
So this is also a long story. So Well, as I was telling you, when I got frustrated with not being able to get the public funding for the hotel business, I went
Yes.
to work in tourism in the Algarve. And I actually worked for an American company for about, I stayed there for about 2 years. And when you become an entrepreneur and you developed a whole hotel project on your own, you kind of know the rules of everything. And my bosses didn't really like me a lot. So I kind of was frustrated with working for other people because I could see the things that were not working, but more I think at the time I didn't find a single boss that was actually willing to hear feedback.
Oh,
Uh, and,
right.
um, I also, at the time, I was finding a few illegal situations in the companies, and those are things that are very hard to bring up because obviously people don't want to hear about it usually. And I was very frustrated. And on top of that, I started having a bunch of health issues. It was actually the start of my endometriosis issues.
Oh dear.
And it was back in 2016, I think. And healthcare, public healthcare in the Algarve is absolutely horrible. And so I basically had to put time off to go to Porto to get to my family doctor and see what was going on. Because at the time I didn't have a health insurance. It was a good wake
Uh-huh.
up call to get a health insurance. And let's say
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
company they actually discovered that things were very wrong, and I was put on a long-term medical leave. And um, it was a mess because I was never on a long-term medical leave. I didn't know there was something called junta médica, where you have to go to prove you are sick. So I wasn't expecting to get a call for that. And then the letter didn't arrive. And then I couldn't prove the letter didn't arrive. And I kind of lost the right to have the health pay. And turns out I had to go back to work, but I wasn't in working conditions. So I fired I quit. And at this point I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to go back to working to other people, also because I wasn't in a good health condition. And yeah, that's the point I started thinking about again of, okay, I'm going to start a business again.
Excellent, excellent. So a real adversity caused these circumstances for you then. And here you
Mm.
are some while later, and you've created the most. I am going to come back to the Viking bar in a minute, but you have created now the most amazing team. You were telling us on Thursday evening, got people all over the country, and you do have a new and highly a rapidly developed situation on your hands, don't you? Of an incredible, exciting company to manage here. Just give us an idea then of the scale of operation you have now here in Portugal.
So yeah, right now I have about 10 people working for me. I have João down in the Algarve, then I have Irina in the Alentejo area, then I have Graciosa in the Lisbon area, I have Diana in the Caldas de Rainha and Leiria area, then I have Diogo in the Aveiro Coimbra area, I have Nuno in the Porto area, Ulisses in the Braga area. Then I have Katya, that is my administrative, and she's the one that replies to the inbox at contact at savvycatrealty.com and helps in the administrative tasks. And I have Erika, that is my content manager and takes care of the website and newsletters and social media and all of that, and YouTube
Fantastic.
videos. What?
Wow. I mean, that would make some people listening in this morning tired just hearing that, let alone having to run it all. I mean, that's amazing. They must have taught you some memory skills. 10 people there, a 10 strong team. Fantastic. I'm so pleased for you and lovely to hear the backstory. And we will come back to that Viking bar, Draka, as you call it, just a moment. We do have a question from Bob this morning. Good morning, Carl. Anna, you are all you wonderful people this morning. A question: if we have to choose, would it be wise to invest in property that can also be used for rentals in future, or go for the home just for us? And what Bob might be talking about that. Good morning to you, Bob. Great to hear from you. Is Bob referring to all the hassle that comes with having a rental, do you think? And what would you say about this question?
I think that any property that you buy for yourself will be able to be rented out because there is a lot less offer than demand on the rental market in general. So that isn't a big problem. The problem would be from an investment perspective if you pay more than it would be wise investment return wise, because from an investment perspective, when you buy a property to rent for return purposes, we usually calculate in order to have a 5 to 10% return on investment per year. So if you buy something that is mostly out of the heart, not out of investment, often people will not be thinking about that at all. And when it comes to rental, they won't be comfortable renting because it's their baby house and they really like it and they don't want to put other people in it.
Yes.
Or they do this bunch of changes and spend a lot of money there, and in order to have a good return they would have to have a very high rent, and they wouldn't be able to find tenants for it. So that's the issue with the only issue with buying mostly for yourself. But if you are aware of that during the buying process and you do a bit of control in order to have a balance on both sides, it's usually not a problem.
Okay. All right. So there you go, Bob. Just for investment purposes is what Bob is talking about there. Thank you for that, Anna. And this, of course, will be a residency. So bring your questions on this, the third Tuesday of every month. I'm sure your content manager has got that in her diary as well to remind you. You are a resident now as a co-host here on the third Tuesday of the month here on Good Morning Portugal. And we'll see you at webinars as well. Always fun talking to you on those. We also have mention of your YouTube channel, going back to your content manager. You must be a very busy person at the moment. I've subscribed to your YouTube channel and enjoy your videos. Obrigado from Moaz in Dubai this morning. Fantastic. Thank you for that feedback, Moaz. And so this Viking bar then, what's the idea? When did you first think to yourself, I know, I want to open a Viking bar? How does that happen?
So, at the time, my partner, one of his dreams was to own a bar. And I really like meat, and I really like mythology. So I started developing, wrapping my head around that. And turns out at the time, and now it's a bit easier, but at the time in 2016, it was really hard to find meat in Portugal. Or maybe it's easier now for me because I know where they are, but I kind of just, okay, I should do a Viking business. And then I started thinking, look, I don't want to have a lot of initial investment. So I'm not going to do a physical location. And what I decided to do instead was to have itinerary tavern. And we did medieval fairs and concerts and festivals and that kind of thing. And it was very well received. From an entrepreneurial perspective, I learned a very big lesson that you cannot force entrepreneurship on someone else, because in truth, I developed that project a lot for my partner at the time. Of course, it was me and my entrepreneurship side, but he kind of went along with it, but it was never really his thing. And things didn't really work out in that regard. And it was definitely a big lesson to, choose your business partners well. And he then left the company. And things were started to get stopped. But at the time, we were very well received on the festivals and fairs we did. And I still get emails inviting us back to do them.
Do you? Okay. Now I need to talk to you about mead and Portuguese mead. I have just discovered that there is something here. This is an American website, but I think they're importing Portuguese mead here. Do you know this brand?
No, that's probably not Portuguese. In Portugal, you have a brand that is Runas, that is made in the north. I don't remember the town where it's made. Then you have Lusitania, that belongs to Apiagro.
Okay.
That is they are honey producers, and they do their own honey products, including meat.
Hold on a minute,
And
Anna. What are they
then
called?
there's some
Let me look them up.
people,
What are they called?
Lusitania, they belong to Apiagro.
Okay. Oh yeah, Apiagro as in honey production. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then you have Runas, that is a small production. And then there is another brand, I think it's Aphrodite, something like that. I actually don't really like that brand, but you can try it.
Well, we do. You know, we have a wine club here, so I think we're going to have to do mead, and you might come along and join us for that one. On the 1st of August, we have this one. We're trying this particular red here from the Dow region, the Cat's Paw. Do you like this one?
No, I don't know. I'm actually not. My father was a big wine person, and curiously, I only started liking wine after he passed away. I don't know what was up with that, but
oh wow. Okay. Wow. Well, that's what we're trying on the 1st of August, and I think we need a mead. But this one, you may well be right. They might just be sort of co-opting the Portuguese idea here. But this is extraordinary. This is 14%. Is this why you like mead? Because it's quite strong. It says, in life, the sweetest experiences are the most forbidden, and the complex layers of smoked caramel, caramelized beet sugar, honey, and oak in Portuguese blindfold reveal themselves slowly once this liquid passes through your lips. Portuguese blindfold is certainly a drink to be enjoyed in the dark of night when the feeling is right and the knots are tied tight. This decadent craft beverage is the sexiest thing we have yet produced. Enjoy your uncompromising liquid art. 14% Portuguese blindfold. I don't know what that really means, but I'm now intrigued to learn more about Portuguese mead. So thank you for that tip. What's the vibe going to be like in this bar? Is it all going to be like tightly knotted and in dark and candle lit and that sort of thing? Is that the vibe of the Viking bar?
the idea is, it's to create pretty much a medieval Viking environment, and to have mostly a wood kind of thing, and to have challenges and drinking horns and all of that.
Oh my God.
At the moment, that my idea, I actually was about to fully close down the project, but then I was approached by a colleague from the medieval fairs, and he's actually one of the first Americans I met in Portugal, and he was someone that kind of just decided to move to Trancoso and start a brewery with some Portuguese guys. And he had the same lesson as me, that is, be careful what partners you choose. But he is a very, very good producer of beer, and he is very excited to start producing mead too. And he just approached me and was like, "Oh, what have you been doing? What are you doing with Drakkar? Do you still want to move that forward? We should have a conversation, and I would like to, become a partner and work with that," and so on. So we have been discussing that, and I think it could work really well. But as for the Viking Tavern, I would make it a physical location in Porto now, and I would definitely buy a property, a store for that, because it's something that will be very customized, and it makes absolutely no sense to do that in a rental place.
Yeah.
And on top of that, from an investment perspective, it's much safer, because the way that the market is right now, if you make a good investment, actually most of the good option I was seeing, we would have to be renovating them ourselves. But basically, if everything went wrong, in the sale of the property would probably cover any
losses potentially.
losses.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, Slug on a Rug, imagining a comedy sketch of medieval Vikings and peasants crafting fine meats. That might be the atmosphere. We're looking forward to it. I mean, who doesn't like horns and wood last thing in the evening in a Porto Drakkar bar? Is Drakkar the word for Viking in Portuguese?
No, Drakkar was the warships, the name of the warships they used. They were the Drakkar ships.
Okay, so it will be the Drakkar bar in Porto. We're looking out for it. It sounds amazing, and we all would love to come to the opening of that. Savvy Cat, Anna Caramujo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Is there anything, would you like the last word before we look at actually a video of some wild boar swimming in the Alentejo?
Yeah, actually, well, you are a very good host and you are very good at making me talk. But next time, let's talk about sustainable construction, because that
Good
is
idea.
another partnership I had for the works, and I'm thinking about. I'm currently developing a package for people that want to come to Portugal and build their own sustainable homes in partnership with a company that is specialized in sustainable construction.
About time too, right? I mean, what a great idea! Fantastic, well done, Anna. That's such a good idea. So yes, third Tuesday. Do we beg your pardon? Third Tuesday
Mhm.
of August, when everyone will be on holiday and will be able to watch the show with us. We'll be working on that morning of Tuesday, the third one in August, and we'll talk about sustainable building. So this is a problem for people, isn't it? Coming to Portugal, they'll get worried. They've seen Mrs. M's video about damp and mold in Portugal. And they think, I want a highly insulated place. I don't want to be cold in the winter. I don't want to be too hot in the summer. And they think about whether they can find somebody who can build to that specification. You are now in talks or even practicalities about doing such a thing for people coming here, right?
Yes, yes. Even nowadays, because up until 2008, the construction laws were very lax.
Yeah.
Of course, structurally wise, the construction is usually pretty good. But when it comes to isolation and energy efficiency, well, people pretty much did whatever they wanted, and usually they wanted to save money. So
Yeah.
it tends to be bad.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Well, that's what a fantastic area to be getting into. What a wonderful thing to talk about. Ubi has been lurking. Drakkar equals dragon. Been lurking, he says. I can't stay quiet long when Vikings and dragons enter the conversation. More dragon trivia incoming as we speak. Anna, thank you so much for being here this morning. Have a great day. Hope you don't get too hot in Avila. Hope you have some of that sea
I
breeze.
hope that too, because now it's getting quite blue, so it's getting hotter.
Yes. Okay. Have a lovely day. Stay cool and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Ciao,
Bye.
ciao. Bye. There she goes. Anna, Viking bars, sustainable construction, an amazing team working all over the country in real estate under her leadership. What an amazing woman she is. And we're looking forward to more of your dragon trivia coming in. And thank you, everybody, this morning. Thanks to Paul. Thanks to Anna, of course, and thanks to everybody. Sorry if I've missed any of your comments. It was just the way of the flow. But I did see that comment about wild boars, and I've got it for you. Has someone seen the video of a pack of 19 wild boar swimming in the Alcova Dam? Quite fun. Yes, I'm going to play it for you now, and I'll stick it on the blog as well, the show blog, coffee.com/GMP. And oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention before I play that video. New idea then, the Good Morning Portugal Book Club. Is this a good idea for us, do we think? We have one suggestion for a book that's already come. We could do that. We don't have to meet up necessarily, although some people might like to meet up over a bottle of wine and talk about the book. But we have a great suggestion for T Duck, or from T Duck, who couldn't be with us this morning, but suggest this book for the new possible idea of the Good Morning Portugal Book Club. Do get them coming in if you've got a book to suggest. Porcelain Goddess by Hugo Offen is the first book suggestion there for the Good Morning Portugal book club for you. Porcelain Goddess by Hugo Offen. Okay, another cognate of dragon. Francis Drake was the dragon and the devil to the hapless Spaniards. Well, that is some dragon trivia indeed. Thank you very much for that, Ubi. Thank you for not being able to resist the urge to lurk and showing yourself this morning. Here, if you imagine this is possibly a Viking longboat, and it's about to land and see off a load of javeli who are just enjoying themselves until the Vikings come along. Check this out, and we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, okay. It's one with no sound, so I'm gonna have to give you a commentary on this. Anna, I think, is enjoying this too. Here we go. We're in our modern longboat, powered, not with oars and men in horned hats. Quite a new and modern looking vessel by the look of it. And what's this we see in the water? This boat or jet ski's got all sorts on it, isn't it? Just arriving then in the lake in the Alentejo here. And a bunch of javeli, wild boar in the water there. Quick, run, fellas. Alan! Alan, get out of the water. There's a Vikings just arrived. And you know what Vikings do when they get here? Look at that, bless them. Off they go. onto the shore and back into the woods. I think that was the last thing they were expecting on that particular day out in the water. I think Antonio has counted them, right? 19 boar of various sizes. You don't want that lot coming towards you. It's a good idea that they're going there in the other direction there. Thank you very much, Obi. Drake is also the name for a variety of insects that are basically smaller and less ferocious looking dragonflies. Drake, dragons, very good. Dragons, they are not just for the Welsh or for St. George, indeed. Thank you. Hold on a minute. There they go. Off they go. Run! They're not very attentive to the little ones, are they? All the big ones have just run off and left the little ones to fend for themselves there. Anyway, there you go. See you tomorrow morning. The doc will be with us. It would have been Owen, but it will be the doc live, I believe, from Italy tomorrow. He's always getting about Europe. So if you've got any questions about Italian culture, as well as his experience, his vast and growing experience of living in Portugal, the doc joins us for Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday tomorrow. So our customary and usual video, I'll put all those videos up on the I'll put the link to the blog in the chat for you. Thank you everybody for being here this morning. Thanks Paul, thanks Anna, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Stay cool folks. Ciao ciao. Bye for now.